Grant breathed heavily. It was over. The Tarrasque was dead. They had won. Everything was quiet except for the flapping of wings above. Kurt did it. He got the bird folk to come. The last-minute gamble paid off. It wasn't without cost. Several buildings had been destroyed, but those were shops, not homes. That was good. Nor were there any casualties. Honestly, that was a miracle. Sweat ran down the mercenary's back. It was over, right? Then why did his nerves keep twitching? He flexed his fingers and stood up. Something was wrong. He strolled up to the beast. A foul wind blew in his face. No, this wasn't a wind. It was breaths. "It's alive!" he yelled as he ran away. The Tarrasque eyes snapped open. The ground rumbled about as the beast rose up once more. It let out another roar. Green gas escaped its mouth and the birdfolk scattered. A few couldn't escape and dropped out of the sky. They did not move again before reaching the earth. Grant ran through the street unarmed. What was he going to do? The spears from the birdfolk were their last hope. "Human!" A feathered man dropped down beside the mercenary. "It survived." "I know. We need to evacuate. I can't think of anything to stop it now." What about... No, wouldn't work." "Tell me, it's better than nothing," he asked the mercenary as he ran. Welcome back to Mythical Phylogeny, fellow adventurers. I'm your guide, Jason. Nothing is worse than when you finally slay a beast, walk away deeper into the dungeon, only for that same beast to rise up and attack you once more. You drive it back, but it won't fall. Why? Well, one option is redundant organ systems. Let's take a bit to figure out how such a system would work. There is a reason for every organ in your body. Maintaining an organ is expensive. It needs nutrients and energy to grow and heal. It also needs constant maintenance to prevent failures. So why have an extra organ that could create issues and problems? What happens if the primary organ fails? In this case, you can keep going. Switch to the backup and keep moving. It sounds great. Are there any examples of this? Well, yes and no. You have animals like starfish which have duplicate of some organs, yet all of these work to maintain the animal's life. They aren't extras per se. So, do we have a better example? There's a good chance you do. Have you ever donated a kidney? You still got one, right? You only need one to live, but this isn't perfect. Both kidneys work. You don't have one that is dormant. Truth be told, there aren't any great examples on Earth. The two most common creatures shown to have these abilities both come from science fiction. Star Trek's Klingons and the Krogans of Mass Effect. Both races come from worlds that are known to be harsh and inhospitable. This is important. Why have something if it is going to be a hindrance? Having a dangerous world, which you call home, would encourage such an adaptation. If you are constantly being hounded by predators, you run a high risk of injury. The redundant organs would be important. It will definitely save lives, assuming you don't have healing magic. Now, how would such a system work? There are a few things we need. You don't want both organs running at once, or do you? There is the pacemaker in the heart. This is a structure that regulates the electrical signals in the heart. After a heart attack, a different section of the heart may take over, but if they worked in unison, it would throw off the heart's rhythm. Also remember the kidneys? Having both work prevents overstraining of the system. But can there be a problem? We'll look at that later. Now let's focus on shutting down a duplicate organ first. Have you ever heard of the pain gate theory? Nope? Not surprised. We are dealing with complex nerve systems here. Here's the short version. Trust me, the long version is going to be too long. Okay, here it is. You've probably heard of fast twitch and slow twitch muscles. One for speed and one for power. You have something similar with nerves. I won't go over all the different types. All you need to know is that there are some nerves which are fast and others slow. Why? Nerves exist to transmit information from one part of the body to another, but not all information needs to get to the brain and back at once. An itch on your foot or a stomachache isn't as important as the stab wound on your side, or your hair on fire. Yeah, I'd want to know about those first. How does this work? This is the pain gate theory. When a fast and a slow nerve fire, there are points where the fast one will send a signal that inhibits the slower signal. More critical injuries are given priority. How this works is based on the different types of receptors throughout the body, and not important from here on. Now, to completely shut down an organ, we can copy the system. When under normal conditions, the primary organ can inhibit the abilities of our redundant organ. Once again, that inhibition can be turned off. It would be the same as the healing process. So why would this be good? Well, this brings up what organs you can use this ability with. The most notable would be the heart and the lungs. Having an extra lung operate wouldn't be a problem unless you don't have the room for it. If you have an extra lung that is empty of air, it would be much thinner. After one lung collapses, then our extra could expand and keep breathing. Perfect. The heart is more of an issue. It is possible to have multiple hearts, as seen in the octopus. 2 brachial hearts and 1 systemic heart. These are not the same as the multi-chamber hearts of humans, but individual smaller pumps. You'll need to have blood flowing to all hearts at times. Thus having a fully dormant heart wouldn't be possible, nor would it be wise. You'll need to link the hearts together to prevent them from working against each other. You'll need them to be in sync. Okay, what about nerves? This is incredibly simple. For the most part, it is just a simple modification of the pain gate theory. Have a primary nervous system, but when injured it will disable itself and activate the second one. Now, to prevent injuring them both at the same time, the wire is to locate the second one on the body's anterior side, or in the middle while the primary is on the back still. Either could work. What about intestines and stomachs? These are not vital organs, so to say. During fight or flight responses, these organs are naturally suppressed. This would be a very easy one to have fully formed redundant organs with little issue. Kidneys and the corresponding waste system already have a partial redundant system. Further improvement wouldn't hurt. Redundant bones and muscles wouldn't be useful here. They could be nice, but would add a lot of extra weight and would complicate the joint systems. Conceptually, they would operate the same way as the heart and need to have all the muscles and weight bearing set up for both sets. Besides, while painful, you can walk on most broken bones. So no, we don't need to double up the skeleton. This isn't a perfect setup. First off, having these redundant systems will increase your dietary demands. In a harsh world, food may not be easily found. That means a high risk of malnutrition and starvation. This increases with the extra organs. Also, to increase the risk of cancer. More cells that need to divide, and more that run the risk of infection or error. What would happen if something caused an inhibited organ to activate when it shouldn't? With the heart, it could throw off blood flow and cause them to pass out. If we use the lung setup I talked about, this could be fatal. If the spare lung inflates, it will prevent all of them from breathing. Suffocation. If it is in the digestive tract, there would be a high risk of infection. Nerves can make it complicated. An issue here could result in paralysis. Not just muscles, but organs. It could leave the heart quivering, unable to beat. It could also scramble the movements, preventing coordination and effective movement. Have you ever thought about how you walk? Stand. Shift weight onto left foot. Balance. Unload weight from right foot and swing forward. Plant heel on ground. Rock foot until it is flat. Transfer weight to right foot. Advance torso forward. Offload left foot. Raise heel and then toes. Advance left leg. Repeat. Does that sound complicated? Yes, walking is complicated. Now try it while fighting, casting a spell. What about swinging a sword? How do you do that? Or draw a bow? You will be amazed at how many incredible feats you do every day. Yes, if something happens with the redundant nerve system, it could be devastating. Sadly, I don't think just any animal or monster could have a redundant system. Flying creatures couldn't afford the additional weight, in addition to small animals won't. They are just too small to bear the extra organs. That means large aquatic and terrestrial animals would be the best. Lastly, when systems switch over, they may be flawed. A poor changeover. Not just the body, but also the mind. Temporary insanity. How long this will last depends on how quickly the changeover takes. It may last until the primary organ can re-engage, assuming that it can. Depending on the healing ability in question, it may or may not return. Grant ran. The boardmen had to spread the word. This was their last chance. His job was to keep the Tarrasque's attention. Stupid, idiotic man. What got into him? He ran down the street. Behind him there was the constant rubble of the monster approaching. It was sluggish and disjointed. Something was off. Was it injured more than it seemed? Hopefully. They needed anything that would help. The mercenary looked around, desperate to find the flying shadows that he needed. A claw came crashing down, and the muscular man swerved to safety, but too slow. He was sent flying from the impact. The Tarrasque roared, and green gas leaked from its mouth. Grant stood up and faced the beast. If he was going to die, at least he could stand up and meet it face to face. Red eyes glared down on him. He looked tiny and insignificant against the Tarrasque. It was blinded, unable to see what was coming. Magic and craftsmanship melded together as a ballista bolt shot forward. Magical energies trailed along it. The wood was blackened from the flames. Wedged inside were bottles, each filled with the alchemist's final mixture. It flew straight for the beast's mouth before exploding. With a final roar, the Tarrasque collapsed. Grant braced himself, doubting his own eyes, but there was no need. This time, it was dead for sure. Thank you for watching, fellow adventurers. This is an interesting and dangerous ability you may face one day. I hope that you are ready for it. Please return next week, where we shall take a break from such nightmarish creatures and meet the cute little jackalope. Until then, safe travels.